Well, look, as you know, on this program, we say things as they are. And while I believe with the Indigenous voice and energy policy, the Albanese government is heading for a train crash, there is little comfort in the way state governments are being run. I'll be looking at Victorian issues shortly, with an election looming there, and the New South Wales government seems to have lost its way. Too much navel gazing. But I wonder what dyed-in-the-wool Liberal supporters in New South Wales think of the word out of Macquarie Street that Matt Keane is organising leadership numbers. They've got to be kidding. As one senior minister said to me today in the New South Wales government, I quote him exactly, "In our game, the opposition sit in front of you, the enemy lurks behind you," unquote. Well, then we go to Queensland. The secrecy and indeed seeming dishonesty are a staggering indictment of a Queensland government. And I can't understand how Anastasia Palaszczuk has let things get so out of control. Remember the last time I interviewed the opposition leader, David Crisafulli, we talked about the resignation of the Integrity Commissioner, a widespread failure by lobbyists to declare meetings or the names of those who attended meetings. Reportedly, hundreds of breaches, and the Integrity Commissioner had a laptop and mobile phones taken from her office. Then, of course, we had the Goldrake review of culture and accountability in the Queensland public sector. Again, a focus on lobbyists, who on one hand were working to secure the re-election of the Palaszczuk government and at the same time lobbying the same government for benefits to companies they represented. The Premier said she would accept all of Goldrake's 14 recommendations. There's no evidence of that, and the company Enacta, run by two Labor Party lobbyists, reportedly secured massive contracts for their business clients shortly before and during the state election campaign. And now it's even worse. Queensland taxpayers have forked out more than $200 million for the Wellcamp quarantine facility near Toowoomba. But as I read it, only 730 guests, they call them, have stayed at the quarantine facility, and now none. Let's go to the opposition leader, David Crisafulli. David, thank you for your time. Firstly, though, in relation to Professor Goldrake's 14 recommendations, have any of these been implemented?
Not as yet, Alan. And to summarise what you just said, there is something rotten in the state of Queensland, and this shows just how rotten it is. Now, we're waiting to see what those recommendations are, in the Premier's response to them.
The Goldrake report...
Alan, from the get-go, this is all about kicking the can down the road.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem to have affected this Enacta, this lobbying company that Anastasia Palaszczuk launched. She launched in 2019. They're off to Canberra to do the same work.
Well, Mr Albanese said he wanted to run a government like Premier Palaszczuk's. Well, he's off to the right start, because her government's been run by this one guy who wields far too much power. He operated from a taxpayer-funded building during the election campaign, and he's getting his pound of flesh now, and he's on his way to see your good folk in Canberra. So, Alan, there's no doubt about it. When governments give up on integrity, they give up on governing for you. It becomes about governing for their mates.
Wonderful
it's all
comment.
about the deals.
Wonderful
That's what
comment.
we're seeing in Brisbane right now.
Yeah.